प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danut Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association to us today. We are eagerly waiting for your association.
Your line's freezing.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Yeah. Is it better now? I think it's yeah. Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
What you may need to do is sometimes if you switch off the camera, then it's easier to the bandwidth is easier to.
Okay, let me try that. Yeah, do that. Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining today's daily call. We are very, very fortunate to have His Grace Bhutabhavana Prabhuji with us today to enlighten us from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Verse 9. And we are eagerly waiting to hear nectar from Bhutabhavana Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I will hand it over to you. Thank you so much again for your valuable time and your association with us today. We are really waiting to hear from you, Prabhuji. So let me start recording before I just do. Okay. Okay, Prabhuji, over to you. Thank you so much again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So we're going to read from Mataji.
Prabhuji, sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is a little bit low. Is it my computer?
Oh. Can everyone else hear me?
Yes, now it's good. I think probably it's on my side. Thank you so much. Yeah.
No worries. So what we'll do is we'll just offer our respects to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we're going to read from 5th Canto, Chapter 18, text number 9, which is, it's a very powerful verse, a very powerful prayer. And it's regarding the need for compassion, which I think is something that we see is needed more and more in the world today. Okay, but before we get into it, let's just say prayers in respect of the Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading, as we said, from 5th Canto, Chapter 18, text number 9. So what I'll do is I will read the Sanskrit. I'll do the word for word, the translation. The purport is quite extensive. So what I'll do is I'll read part of the purport so we have some time to still discuss as well. Okay. Swasyastu Vishvasya Kala Prasidatam Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mitodiya Manaschabhadram Bhajatat Adhoksaje Avesyatam no Mati Apyahoituki. Word for word. Swasti, auspiciousness. Astu, let there be. Vishvasya, of the entire universe. Kalaha, the envious, almost everyone. Prasidatam, let them be pacified. Dhyayantu, let them consider. Bhutani, all the living entities. Shivam, auspiciousness. Mitaha, mutual. Diya, by their intelligence. Manaha, the mind. Cha, and. Bhadram, calmness. Bhajatat, let it experience. Adhoksajay, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is beyond the perception of mind, intelligence and senses. Avesh yatam, let it be absorbed. Naha, our. Matihi, intelligence. Api, indeed, ahoy tuki, without any motive. Translation: May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. Purport. The following verse describes the Vaishnava. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Just like a desire tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. He prays not for himself, but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. He always thought of the welfare of mischievous persons like his father, Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. This is the attitude of a Vaishnava who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free of envy. Parama Nimatsaranam. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays in this verse, Kalaha Prasidatam, may all the envious persons be pacified. The material world is full of envious persons, but if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in his social dealings and can think of the welfare and can think of others' welfare. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manas chabadram bhajatad ahok sajay. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir Nishimho, Hridaye Nishima. Let Lord Nrsimhadev sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean, so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us a very fine purport in this regard. Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benediction from him. Even pure, nishkam devotees pray for some benediction, as instructed by Lord Chaitanya, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashtakam. Ainandatanu jikin karam, patitnam mam vishame bhavam buddho. Kripaya tava pada pankaja stita duli shatrisham vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. In another prayer, Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janmani Shri Bhavatat Bhakti Ahoy Tuki Twai. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your lordship's lotus feet. When Prahlad Maharaj chants Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya, he prays for a benediction from the Lord. But because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. The first desire expressed in his prayer is Swasyastu Vishvasya. Let there be good fortune throughout the entire universe. Prahlad Maharaj thus requested the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. Okay, we'll stop there. Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swamrupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Original Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishikamvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jigapati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Taptakam Chanagorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapatrabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Vidnam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhattavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very beautiful verse. It's a very beautiful prayer that one can say to the Lord. May there be good one can pray to Krishna. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, but by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. So, there is a real need in the world for love and compassion. But people don't know the formula that will allow that love and compassion to manifest. And therefore, we have so many difficulties and challenges in the modern world. It is a very exalted thing to be a Vaishnava. It's not a small thing to be a devotee. Many of us, we are sadhakas. So we are practicing. We are engaging in the process by which we will become purified and therefore regain our natural condition. Prabhupada was on a morning walk with the devotees, and where the devotees were walking with Prabhupada, that he would come across these different pools of water, and it was a cold day. So these pools of water, they were frozen, and Prabhupada, as he would walk by a particular place, he would crack I saw the message by Raj. I'll come back to that. But what would happen is, as Prabhupada was walking, he would just hit the frozen water with his cane and break the ice. And eventually the devotees realized that, if Prabhupada is doing this, there must be some reason. So they asked Prabhupada, why are you doing this? Why are you cracking the ice? Prabhupada explained to the devotees, it is not the natural state of the water to be frozen, to be solid. He said, in the same way, it is not the natural state of the living entity to be in Maya. The suffering of the living entity is that we are in an unnatural situation. That's the sutra. If we understand that one thing, then we literally understand everything about our difficulty in the material world, is that we're not being natural. And the more unnatural a person is, the more unhappy they are, because unnatural means artificial. And artificial for the living entity is a form of insanity. So we are what? Well, it's the natural state of the living entity. The natural state of the living entity is Sat, Chit, Ananda. By nature, we are Sat. We are eternal. Chit, full of knowledge. That means no ignorance. And most importantly, Ananda. So whenever you see anyone who is not happy, you're seeing someone who is in an unnatural state of existence. And all of our issues are based upon this one thing, that we are acting and living in an unnatural state. So what is this unnatural state? Asat, Achit, Nirnanda. Asat, temporary. So when the eternal identifies with the temporary, we suffer. What does that mean? It means that when we identify with the body and when we live and act in a way that reinforces the bodily identification, we're going to suffer. If I hold on to an identification that I'm male, that I'm female, I'm young, I'm old, I'm black, I'm white, if I hold on to the Indian, if I hold on to these identifiers with the body, then whatever happens to the body will affect me more and more and more. You know? What we don't understand is that the teachings of these glorious Srimad Bhagavatam teachings are like a healing ointment for the soul. So when I identify with the body, when I do things that reinforce my identity with the body, then what happens is, even if I don't suffer right there and then, I've just turned up my sensitivity to everything that happens to the body. Asat. Then achit. Achit is the opposite of chit. Chit means knowledge, full of knowledge. So achit is actually full of ignorance, no knowledge. The first dimension of suffering is this ignorance. When we have the wrong conception about who we are, what we're meant to do, how we're meant to live, that wrong conception, it then undermines everything else that we do. You see? Achit. People, we are so, in Kali Yuga, we are so polluted, so covered, so blind, that not only do we not know what will make us truly happy, it's actually much worse than that, to be honest. And the Bhagavad Gita talks about this idea of ignorance, where one thinks that religion is irreligion and one thinks irreligion is religion. In other words, the symptom of deep ignorance is when we actually think that the poison is nectar and that the nectar is poison. Deep ignorance is when we actually and actively pursue something that is actually destroying our ability to be truly happy. Think about that. Someone is actually pursuing happiness, but because of ignorance, the very things that they're looking to get, which they think will make them happy, are the very things that will cause them to suffer. Isn't that deep? Isn't that really unfortunate? We've been in the modern world, we've been completely misdirected. And much of Krishna consciousness is to uproot that ignorance. Much of Krishna consciousness is to give us a true and healthy conception, a realistic understanding of the effect of engaging with the material energy, and a realistic understanding of what we need to do that will make us truly happy. Take your mind back to the first canto. We have Vyasadeva, who is an incarnation of God, Veda Vyas, he's the divider. He has done so much by way of following his guru, following vows, austerities, etc. He's created all of these amazing philosophical scriptures, Mahabharata, etc. But he's not satisfied. Can anyone ever relate to that? Have any of you in your life ever felt, you know what? I'm not satisfied. Think about that. So perhaps we've all had that experience at certain points in our life where we feel, you know what? I'm not satisfied. I'm doing so many things, but there is something missing. And this is what the world feels, ladies and gentlemen. Practically every living entity on this planet feels inside that there's something missing. And that feeling, it drives people crazy. Because they feel that there's something missing, it becomes such an intense experience of emptiness that people cannot tolerate it. And what do? Therefore, without having a superior understanding of how to solve the problem, without going to the relevant experts who can say why that person is unhappy, instead, the person jumps more into materialistic activity, thinking that I'm unhappy. I don't know about this spirituality, so therefore I dive into more materialism. But actually, it doesn't make sense. Why? Because you were engaged in material activities before and you were unhappy. So now that you've realized how unhappy you are, you've jumped into even more material activity. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's like I'm drinking something, and I'm eating something and drinking something, and I don't like the taste. So what do? Therefore, I eat and drink more of the same thing. It doesn't make sense. Now, that is the complete contrast to this particular verse. This particular verse is so powerful because it is the complete opposite of a materialistic mindset. Let's look at this. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. So good fortune throughout the universe. The first thing is, which is very interesting about the material mindset, is that when someone is materialistic, they actually want happiness for themselves. They don't necessarily want everyone else to be happy. In fact, I've seen so many times people's so-called happiness is distinctly a sense that they're doing better than someone else. So this is the material mentality. This idea that I should be happy and it should be at the expense of someone else. I should have more money than someone else. I should have more fame than someone else. I should have more power or influence than someone else. It's always based upon an insecurity. It's always based upon this idea of keeping up with the Joneses, having more, having superior to someone else. It's always comparative. And as long as it's comparative, that means it's relative. Relative, isn't it? I need to do better than someone else who I know. It's all relative consideration. But what is Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness is absolute consideration. Even in the demigod planets, and they live for millions of Earth years. Even in the demigod planets, they know they have to die at some point. So it's all relative. You know, it's like us comparing our lives to the life of an ant, and we think, wow, you know, I live for, you know, hundreds of times the length of that ant. You know, so you know, you can watch some ants for a year. Probably within a year they die. And you think, I can live 80 years. I can live over 80 times the length of a lifespan of an ant. So what? It's all relative. It's all relative. This verse, first sentence, the first thing is asking for good fortune for everything, for everyone. And then the second, may all envious persons be pacified. This is a very powerful lesson for me as well. You see, the usual thing is to want the envious to be punished. Prahlad doesn't say that. Prahlad Maharaj doesn't say that. May they be pacified. Envy is a suffering. If someone has envy, it means that their consciousness is polluted by the mode of ignorance. You see, the anatas are a form of self-torture. So if someone is envious, they're tortured by their own envy. If someone is jealous, they're tortured by their own jealousy. If someone is insecure, they're tortured by their own insecurity. You don't even need to punish them. The anatta itself is a punishment. Isn't that interesting? The impurities within the heart of a living entity is in itself a form of torture. Unnatural. It is unnatural. And the glorious day in Krishna consciousness is coming for each and every one of us. The more we understand that actually, the more I live naturally, the happier I'll be. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. Now, this is interesting. Not only is Prahlad Maharaj giving the outcome, they become calm, but he's giving the means by which they can achieve it by practicing bhakti yoga. You see, again, unless we have the right medicine, we cannot get back to our healthy condition. If you take nothing away from this seminar, this class, I want you to really remember, the more natural we are, the deeper our happiness, peace, joy, strength. Yeah. It is a beautiful day in Krishna consciousness, because if we remember what we're doing, we're trying to become natural again. We're practicing living naturally again. And the more we do that, the more we will become free of all of our suffering. You can use this as a litmus test or as a compass. When you're going through your day, you simply ask yourself, am I living a more natural, spiritual life? Or am I doing things which are more unnatural? The more I can live a natural, spiritual life, the happier I will be, the more I will make spiritual progress. And whenever I try to do or go in the more unnatural direction, unnatural means material. The more I live a more materialistic, a more unnatural life, the deeper my misery will become, the less happy that I become. This is the sum and substance. By accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. This is very beautiful. This is very, very beautiful. By accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. That means that the natural state of mind is to be selfless. The natural state of mind and the natural position of joy, of bliss, of ecstasy is to take pleasure in considering the welfare of other people. This is very, very important. The more that we live a selfless life, and by selfless, I don't mean foolish. I don't mean we neglect ourselves. I mean we look after ourselves so that we can continue to serve. Okay? The more that we live that type of lifestyle, the deeper our joy becomes. So by practicing devotional service, They will think of each other's welfare. There's a story about the difference between heaven and hell. So one person was taken to hell, and they were there, and they saw that what happened was people were sitting around the table, and there was food in front of them. But they had this spoon, which is a long spoon, and one hand was tied, so they could get the food on their spoon with their right hand. Their left hand was tied behind their backs. They couldn't use their left hand. And this because the spoon was so long, they couldn't quite get the tip of the spoon in their own mouth. You see? So they had food on the end of the spoon, and they were all starving. And the spoon was so long. Imagine a very, very long spoon. Got a spoon here. Imagine a very long spoon. It's so long they couldn't quite get it. It wasn't short enough for them to put it in their mouth. It's just always too long. Always too long. So this person was shown this vision of hell. Everyone there, food, everyone having some food on their spoon, but no one could actually feed themselves. They're starving even though it's all present. And then the same person was taken a bit later on. I'll show you heaven. And he was surprised, because when he came to heaven, he saw the same people, the same situation, meaning there was all the same food, huge feast on the table. Everyone had the same long spoon. At the end of the spoon, everyone had that food on the end of their spoon, but no one was starving. Everyone was eating. Everyone was relishing. And he was amazed, because he saw there was one difference between heaven and hell. The difference that he saw was that in heaven, what happened was that long spoon, the person wasn't feeding themselves. The spoon wouldn't allow them to feed themselves, but they didn't care in heaven. That long spoon, they were using the spoon of food that they had picked up. They were using it to feed someone else. Everyone was feeding someone else with their long spoon. The spoon was too long for them to put it in their own mouth, but they could put it in someone else's mouth. Everyone was feeding someone else. Everyone else was giving to someone else. Everyone else was serving someone else. And because they were serving someone else, their satisfaction was extraordinary. Because they were serving, their satisfaction was extraordinary. And this is exactly what the Bhagavatam says. The devotional service has to be a hoituki apratiyata yayatma suprasidati. That devotional service has to be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. That was what was being shown. Ladies and gentlemen, we hear this so often, but we understand things often so superficially. The number one reason why people, maybe even sometimes we, are not happy is because we're not engaging in pure, selfless, devotional service. We're living in the illusion that if I do things for my material self and I make that the goal, we're living in the illusion that that will make us happy. And no one has actually been made happy by it. Now, it's important to get this properly understood. We're not saying that we should not take care of the body and mind. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself says that it should be done. But why? What's the motive? We should understand that our body, the body that the soul is inhabiting, is our vehicle for service. It's our sadhana deha. It is our vehicle for service, for practicing devotional service. It actually belongs to Krishna. This body that we are using, it is Krishna's vehicle that he's given us in order to make the journey from the material world to the spiritual world. So because it is Krishna's vehicle, we're not meant to abuse the vehicle. We're meant to use the vehicle, keep the vehicle in proper condition so that we can drive to Krishna. So Krishna consciousness, properly understood, includes everything that we need to do in a healthy way. We have to learn to become pure and selfless servants of Krishna. That is a natural state, and that is the only way that one becomes truly happy. And as is explained in this particular verse, that one of the real benefits is that we naturally can see that we're advancing because we're thinking about the welfare of other people. We're thinking about how we can help others to become happy, to become natural once again. In this purport also, Prabhupada is saying even pure Nishkam devotees pray for some benediction, as instructed by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ayi nandatanu jikinkaram patitanam mam vishame bhavam buddho. Kripaya tava pada pankaja, stita duli sadrisham vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. That's our identity, by the way. That's our natural state. We're eternally, by nature, servants of Krishna. Yet somehow or other, I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Yes, so we don't know how we got here, but we're in this unnatural situation. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So please pick me up. Please, you saved me. This is a mood of surrender. This is a mood of dependence. I'm going to position myself by the chanting, by the hearing, by the service. I'm going to ask Krishna, please save me from this ocean of death. To save me from this place of unhappiness. And place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. That means place me once again in a position of pure service to you. It's a very beautiful prayer. And if we recite this prayer, even if we think about it, you can understand that this has been said. This is from the unlimitedly soft heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death. Please pick me up from this unnatural state of suffering and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. This should be our prayer. This should be our mood. The excitement of Krishna consciousness is that if we're serious, Krishna is always there to reciprocate. If we want to become Krishna conscious, Krishna will help us. See? Why? Because he's in our heart, he's in every atom, and he wants us to be Krishna conscious even more than we want to be. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll stop there, and we'll see what questions or comments that you have. And feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, and feel free to also switch on your camera if you wish to. It'd be great to see you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful class explaining about this powerful prayer, like praying that we should come out of this unnatural state, and come to natural state. So many deep-rooted anarthas in our hearts. So praying always, that mood, setting up the mood to come to the unnatural, so that gives us ananda, happiness. Yeah, so nicely explained, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the powerful, beautiful class. Yeah. Hare Krishna, devotees, please, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please, you can raise your hand or you can unmute or you can type in the chat box. Please, I also humbly request if you can turn on your camera, that would be very nice to see you all. Hare Krishna. Let's see.
So feel free to share any questions if there's anything we can do to elaborate on something, to explain something. Okay, Namrata, I saw you've got your hand up.
Mataji, please go ahead. Yeah.
Please accept a humble obeisances. Please accept a humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj. All glories to Prabhupada. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that not to live foolishly, we should live selflessly. So I just, can you just help me understand that with some examples? Because sometimes it happens, we can't discriminate at certain points. That we are living foolishly or we are living selflessly. So,
Yes, so there are 6 principles of surrender within our scriptures. The first 2 are that we accept what's favorable and reject what's unfavorable. Now, what often happens is that if we're so influenced by lower modes, we may think and do something that seems favorable, but it's not something that will remain favorable. It will become a problem later on. For example, if I'm not at a very advanced level and then I just misuse my health, okay? So I don't actually get enough, for example, rest, then my health will go down. And so in the beginning, I was, yes, I'm serving, I'm going to follow Prabhupada. Prabhupada only slept 2 hours a night. Yeah, but Prabhupada's a Paramahamsa. So he can do that and it doesn't affect his devotion. But if I foolishly think that I can imitate a pure devotee, even though I don't have the same capacity, then even if in the short term I get away with it, in the long term, it creates all kinds of problems for me. And because of those problems, now I can't in the long term do as much devotional service because my health is bad. You see? So when we follow, things are meant to be followed wisely, intelligently. You know, we're meant to follow the instructions of the spiritual master and the instructions of the scripture in a wise and intelligent way. Another way of looking at this is that we should follow the instructions, but we should do so from the platform of the mode of goodness. Because one of the symptoms of the mode of goodness is that things are sustainable. Yeah. So we follow wisely, because the idea is that I don't want to be someone who is enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness today and loses my enthusiasm for the rest of my spiritual life. What I'm trying to do is to live Krishna consciousness in such a way that my enthusiasm is maintained and increased over time. My enthusiasm and my surrender should be growing. You see, it's a progressive path. And that's how we can understand it. So it's just basically how to live spiritual life in such a way that not only today am I enthusiastic, but I'll be even more enthusiastic tomorrow. And when I'm not sure if how I'm living and practicing Krishna consciousness is being done in an intelligent way, if I'm not sure, then it's very, very simple. I will check in with my spiritual master. I will check in with the devotees who I associate with, and I get their feedback to make sure that I'm doing it properly. And more, even if I think I'm doing it well, we can always improve. So by the association of the devotees, I can find out from them, what can I do differently? How can I improve? Because I'm enthusiastic and eager to receive more of Krishna's love. That's what we want. What surrender means, that you open yourself up to receive more of Krishna's love, and that love empowers you. You see? It's a really beautiful process of unlimited benefits. The biggest benefit you get in Krishna consciousness is your heart becomes full of happiness and joy and bliss and ecstasy and compassion and mercy and grace. In fact, your heart has so much of this grace that you cannot help but give it to other people because you have more than you can handle. That is what it means to preach. Preaching means it is the overflow of the grace that I have received that I have to give to other people because I can't, it's too much for me to keep for myself. And then the amazing thing is, the more we give that mercy to other people, the more we experience that mercy ourselves. So this is what Krishna consciousness is, and this is what it means. Have I answered your question, Namrata Mataji? In terms of practically how you practice?
Yes, yes. That's quite clarified. Thank you for the understanding.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mataji. Prabhuji, I see a question on the chat box by Raj Prabhu.
Yes.
Please accept my humble obeisances. Guru Maharaj said we should recite such prayers with sincerity. To do this, we need to understand the prayers. I don't properly understand the part about at your Lord's lotus feet. Please, can you enlighten me?
I don't know which part, Raj. If you where is that part?
Raj Prabhu, you like to?
Hare Krishna. Yes, it was in the. It was in the Bhagavatam verses that you actually read it out in one of those prayers.
Okay, was it the prayer Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram? Is it the one in the purple, or are you talking about the actual verse itself?
Yes, in purple. Sorry.
It's okay. So did I cover that in the class, or do you need some further?
I'd appreciate it if you could explain what we mean when the acharyas say that your divine lotus feet, or they say we hear this all the time, your lotus feet, and it comes up in so many prayers. But I always feel I'm blocked in praying sincerely because I don't really appreciate what that means.
Okay, so we did touch upon it, but I'll kind of echo the point. You see, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana, manashishtan indriyani prakritishtani kashati." He says the living entities are part and parcel of me. Right? So all of us, we are the same in quality as Krishna. Our difference is we're different in quantity and we're different in individuality. So we all have our unique individual personality, and so does Krishna. Krishna has his unique individual personality. Now here, Lord Chaitanya is asking, please place me at one of the atoms at your lotus feet. That means give me shelter. Give me shelter. Place me once again in my natural condition of service. You know, when we talk about sitting at the lotus feet of the spiritual master, it means we position ourselves as servants. As we said before, it means we're back in our natural condition. Right? And there's a statement in the Niti Shastra, everything unnatural is an enemy. It's a very beautiful statement. It means the more that we live and act unnaturally in a materialistic way, the more unhappy we'll be. Right? And it means the opposite. When we live in a natural way, what is natural? What is natural for the soul? Natural for the soul is to live a life of selfless, loving service according to the instructions of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. The more that we live that way, the more we will actually be happy again. It really is that simple. It really is that simple. And so, yeah, at this point, atoms, place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. It means place me once again, accept me once again as your servant. This chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a call for service. Right? Please
Thanks very much.
It's okay. It's saying, please accept me once again as your servant. Please place me back into my normal condition as your servant. So the more natural we are, the more we will be happy and Krishna conscious once again. That means the more that we go back to serving Krishna, serving Guru, the more we will find ourselves deeply satisfied. And when we go against what Krishna wants, we will not be happy. The part cannot go against the whole. That's the point. Thank you for your question, Raj.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's much clearer now. That's very helpful. Okay.
Do we have any other questions or comments?
May I ask another question?
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for that question. Prabhuji, meantime, devotees think about questions. I have a question.
Raj had another. Oh, okay. So should you ask a question and then I'll come back to Raj. Okay. Yes. What's your question?
Okay. Prabhu, you can go ahead. I can ask after you, just like a continuation of your question. Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. You're talking about we should do, I can't remember the exact words that you're doing, but it was around doing more what we should naturally be doing that will actually make us feel happy, doing more things in back to, akin to serving the Lord. I always find that we often do, personally, I do lots of things that are not natural, and yes, they don't make me happy, but you still do them. And then sometimes I get some enthusiasm and determination, and I think, right, I'm going to do more things that are natural. I'm going to do more service. I'm going to do more of this, and this. But every time I step up that determination, I seem to get like a massive bombardment and barrage of problems coming my way. Of these big problems will come thrown at me. There'll be things that are enticing me away, and they will all come at once, and they'll just like be so overwhelming. And it'll take some time to actually get through all that. And then the next time I try and step up again, the same thing happens. And I wonder if you can offer any advice or suggestions.
So give me 1 second. So you have to see that when you want to become more Krishna conscious, Maya will test how sincere and determined you are. See? Because it's a very powerful thing to become more Krishna conscious. So she has to test, are you serious? And one way in which she can test is by giving you more obstacles. So it's not the obstacles, it's the determination, it's the strength of determination. So these things will not be an issue when our determination to progress is stronger than our interest in materialism. Right? That's the first point. Now the second is a practical thing. When these obstacles come up, then we have to be able to objectively look and see, and often we need help to do this. Are these really obstacles? Are these really things that I have to deal with? Or are they coming up and I could say, you know what, actually it's not important. This has come up, that's come up. Oh, okay, it's come up, but it's not important. Please, so someone brings up something. Just when you're about to try to make more progress in spiritual life, then these things come up and you look at it and you think, actually, I don't need to deal with these, right? And someone says, Prabhu, we need you to spend more hours in the office. It's like, well, no, I don't need to spend more hours in the office. Thank you for the invitation, but I'm not going to be available to spend more hours in the office. You should find someone else to spend more hours in the office. So just because things come up, it doesn't always mean that we have to actually let them into our lives. You see? So we have to see when these things come up, are they things that we actually have to deal with? So if they are, okay, then we deal with them in the Krishna conscious way. And therefore they don't become an obstacle. But sometimes the things come up and it's actually, we look at it and feel, oh, you know what, actually, I don't need to spend my time looking at this particular issue. Maya's trying to distract me sometimes, you see? So I would say, oh, you know, this has come up, that's come up. But then someone else will look at it and think, well, you don't actually have to spend your time dealing with that particular thing. You could just say to the person, I'm sorry, I don't have time. And they would have to find someone else to deal with it, you see? So we have to be really careful, because the way the material energy is, she can trick us. And she can make us think that something that's not really something that we have to deal with is something that, oh my God, you have to deal with this. You know, if you don't sort this out now, it's going to be a big, it's like, well, no, actually, it can wait. Or, you know, this emergency, only you can help. It's like, well, actually, no. So many other people could take care of that. It's not why is that what my spiritual master told me to do? You know, we can be so busy trying to serve that we don't even serve the spiritual master. You know? So everyone else wants you to do one thing, but your guru told you to do something else. And now you're not doing what your guru told you to do, and you're doing what everyone else wants you to do. But actually, they're not your spiritual master. Your spiritual master told you to do this particular service. You see? So this is how the material energy can trick us. There's different levels. First of all, Maya will try to make us an atheist. Don't be Krishna conscious. Don't believe in God. It's all rubbish. If she can't do that, then the next level is make us a hypocrite. Okay, believe in God, but don't take it serious. I mean, you have to chant and every day. I mean, we're not fanatical, Prabhu, you know? So she'll try and make you a hypocrite. If she can't do that, then she'll try and frustrate you by making sure that you have some frustration with the devotees. Oh, the devotees acting like this, they're getting on my case, the devotees don't deal with me properly. She'll try and make you frustrated that way. So her job is to try and see how much can we stop him. If we can't stop him, how much can we slow him down? You see? But Prabhupada said, he said it, so one devotee, one disciple asked Prabhupada, how is it that Maya is so strong? Prabhupada said, it's not that Maya is so strong. He said, the issue is that our determination is not so strong. So there's a clue here. And the clue for us is, what we're wanting to do is strengthen our determination. There's two ways of strengthening our determination. One is that we have to remind ourselves that the material world can't make us happy. You see? If we remember that, then we will not become a slave of the material energy. Otherwise, we'll be a slave. She'll keep saying, do this for me, do that for me, and I'll make you happy. You do it and you find that whatever you do for the material energy, she can't make you happy. She never makes you happy. She makes you sad. And one day we have to realize, I'm sick and tired of serving this slave master. I do one thing for her, one thing for her, one thing for her, and she keeps promising that she'll make me happy, and all she gives me is misery. The material world is like a bad marriage. The material world is like a bad marriage. You serve that particular partner, and all they do in return is exploit you. You understand? So we are trying to have, and this is the kind of divorce that you can have in Krishna consciousness. We can become divorced from the material energy. That type of divorce is acceptable and it's wanted. See? So we have to remember that the material energy is like a mistress who can never make us happy. She can promise so many things, and but we should understand, the moment you submit to her, she will punish you. That's the material energy. And then the opposite is also true. The spiritual energy is truly fulfilling. So we should understand, the more I can do in Krishna consciousness, the more I will be truly once again happy. So we're going back to the natural state. And if we remember these two things, that the material energy can't make me happy, even if she pretends that she can't make me happy. Only Krishna can make me happy. Then what we'll do is we'll go more and more in that direction. Yeah, and that will give us the determination to say no to Maya and say yes to Krishna. Does that answer your question, Raj?
That's wonderful. That's very helpful. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
I think I'll make a note for myself, those last words, to remind myself every day.
All of us. There's so many things we can do. But the essence is, the more that we expose ourselves to Krishna consciousness, and do it in a way that's inspiring, do it in a way that's according to the Guru's instructions, but expose yourself more and more to Krishna consciousness, and you'll find wonderful things will happen. Yeah. Okay. And then Shuda, you had a question.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So just some understanding. So aligning your thoughts to Guru's instructions will help us to become Krishna conscious. Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah. So I have a question, Prabhu, like unnatural to natural. I mean, that really helped me so much to understand, like, our deep, why we are in that unhappy because of that unnatural, because we are not natural. Unnatural, as you mentioned, Prabhuji, like, when we have these, insecurities, jealousy, enviousness, all these things. So my question is like, I mean, so is that always, it's unnatural means like always it's like we can relate like that, or sometimes like even though we are natural, external circumstances also sometimes make you unhappy?
If we're being natural and we do it regularly, then it becomes so deep within us that actually at advanced stages of Krishna consciousness, nothing in the material world can shake us. You see? It's like an investment. So for some people, when in the last 2 years, because of coronavirus, when there was lockdowns, there were many people, they couldn't do their job. So imagine people were working in a restaurant and then there was lockdown. So all the restaurants were forced to close, right? It happened in many places around the world. So for many people, they couldn't do their job because their work was closed. Now, for some people, even though they couldn't do their job, they'd been saving some money. And because they'd been saving some money, then even when the restaurant was closed, they're still able to look after themselves. They're still able to buy food, pay their bills, etc. Because they'd built up some investment, in the easy times. So Krishna consciousness is like an investment. Depending on how much we've built up our Krishna consciousness, that then allows us to handle whatever life gives us. See? But if we don't build it up, then what happens is, then when the situation happens, and we don't know what's coming around the corner, do we? We don't know. Like now there's a new illness, they call it, monkeypox? Right? That's now in the news. You see? So people think that the wise thing to do is to try to manipulate the external world. No, that's unwise. The wise thing to do is to strengthen our internal world. That's the wise thing to do, is to strengthen our internal world. And if we're strong inside, in consciousness, then we can handle whatever we're going through. Prabhupada, even when he was preparing to leave the world, his body was very diseased. He had lots of illnesses, old age, so many things. Prabhupada was in a very pure consciousness. Prabhupada, you'll see these videos on his deathbed. What is he doing? He's reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. Who can do that? Who can be in that physical state of decay and be so clear in consciousness that you can pull a microphone in front of the person and the person is reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam? Ladies and gentlemen, let's be very clear. We are being given an extraordinary opportunity. Right? See, what's going to happen is the body will grow old. It happens to everyone. Will be diseased, happens to everyone. Will die, happens to everyone. But the consciousness, that's our choice. If we practice Krishna consciousness in a wise, intelligent, progressive way, increasingly over time, no matter what happens to my physical body or my mind, I will be on the spiritual platform, even while I am in this physical body. But it's an investment that we have to build up. So you should take every opportunity, right, in a way that's wise and progressive and sustainable. You should think, how do I live my life so I can make these experience these higher states of Krishna consciousness? How do I build up this spiritual investment, which is going to save me from birth, old age, disease, and death? Think about it. You know, this is a power that you have in your hands. And also bear in mind, sometimes to achieve that, we have to make a sacrifice. You know, so don't think that it's all about just being comfortable and doing whatever's convenient. You know, sometimes we will need to inconvenience ourselves in order to achieve a higher level of Krishna consciousness. You know, that's wanted. It is a sign of immaturity. Right? You see this in young children. They want everything and they don't understand that you have to, like, you know, they want, 20 toys and they want to hold and play with all of those toys at the same time. But the adult knows, look, your hands will only allow you to hold 3 of these toys. You don't have big enough hands to hold all 20 toys at the same time. So what Krishna gives us in spiritual life, he says, in order to get something higher, you often have to let go of something which is lower. You see? For example, let's say that sometimes I'm around people and they are old friends of mine, but they always want to do materialistic activities. And I see that I don't have much time because I've got other duties, family duties, etc. I may need to make some sacrifice. I may need to tell the friend, look, I can't spend the same amount of time with you because I've got these other responsibilities now that I have to take care of. And then they may not even like it. Oh, you're not spending as much time with us. Yes, but then you're spending more time now with Krishna. You're using some of that time to do some more service or to go deeper, to read more, to hear more, to study more. You see? So sometimes we have to be ready to make a sacrifice in order to progress in spiritual life. Krishna is not cheap. And then he wants to see, if you really want me, do you really want this relationship, or do you just want to stay in the material world? You know? So we should think like that. And again, it should be done wisely, intelligently. If we're not sure, we can do it in association by discussing it with others who are close to us. We should be excited. How can I become more focused on my guru's instruction? How can I arrange my life so I can serve better? How can I arrange my life so I can hear more, chant better? And maybe for one person, maybe, you know what, I need to sleep early. That way I can wake up early and chant better rounds. For someone else, it's like, I struggle to become motivated to study. So what can I do about it? Oh, I know. I have a friend who likes to study. So I'm going to ask him or her, can we study together? I was speaking to one devotee this morning. We were talking about Bhakti Vaibhav and Bhakti Vedanta. There's different courses that ISKCON do, and it's different courses where you can study the Bhagavatam. And I was just telling this devotee, I'd love to study the Bhagavatam with them. What we were thinking to do is we'll do Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Vedanta. I mean, even though I've read those verses and those cantos that we'll study, for example, in Bhakti Vaibhav, but to actually go through it again, deeper study, because I'm excited because there's so much that Krishna's shown us in these scriptures. To be honest, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I see that if we study it together, then we can actually churn the nectar more together. And then we'll all have different additional realizations and be like, wow, I didn't see that. Wow, like that verse relates to that verse. Oh, wow, I didn't notice that Prabhupada said that in that purple. Wow. And it will transform us. So I want to encourage you, if we're honest, if we put our hand on our heart and we're honest, there's always something that we can do that will allow us to get more of Krishna's mercy. You see? It could be that someone's not reading and they can read. It could be someone's chanting could be improved and they could chant better. It could be someone, I don't go to the temple enough. It's around the corner, but I always find an excuse not to go. But let me make a commitment to go regularly to the temple. It could be someone else. There's a Sangha group. I don't take enough association, but there is a Sangha group I can go to. I keep putting it off. Let me stop putting it off. When you put off your Krishna consciousness, you put off your ecstasy. So, honestly, there is so much that we can do if we're honest. So I'm going to ask all of you, after this call, I'd like you to do this reflection. And actually, I'll do it with you. I'll do it with you. Just write down, how's your Krishna consciousness going? Actually, why don't we stop here? So let's stop here and do this while we're all on the call. So we're going to pause. I'm going to switch off my camera for 3 minutes, and I'm going to do the same reflection exercise. Just write down, how is your Krishna consciousness going? What things do you feel you're doing really well? And what is it that you think, you know what, I need to do more of this? What can you adjust or do slightly differently? It doesn't have to be big things, right? You can put down even lots of ideas and then just start with one thing. It's not about being overwhelmed, but we'll give you 3 minutes and just write down, how's your Krishna consciousness going? What things are you doing well? And what things can you change that will give you more of Krishna's mercy, more of Krishna's bliss and grace, which we can all get more of? 3 minutes to just write down your reflections about your spiritual life, then we'll come back and we'll say a few concluding words. So I'll turn my camera off for 3 minutes. We'll give you 3 minutes to write down your reflections, and we'll come back. So I'm going to ask you to switch your cameras back on. And I'm not going to ask you what you wrote down. What I'd like to just hear from 1 or 2 people, the exercise itself, the things that you're doing well, and the ideas of things that you could improve on. How did it feel to just write that down? I'd like to hear from 1 or 2 people. What was it like to do that activity?
Yeah, Prabhu, felt more practical, understand where we are standing in Krishna consciousness, things, how can we improve. So we can have the list of things, and every day, I mean, it helps us to, take a step forward in Krishna conscious and work for those goals. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyone else, when you did the exercise, how did it feel? You were writing down the things which you're doing well, and you were writing down things that you could improve on. Anyone else who wants to share, how did it feel when you did that reflection? You were just thinking about it and think, oh, okay, this is good. This is an area that I can improve. Anyone else? Namrata?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, it definitely it helps us to contemplate where we are standing and what we want more from this. We there is a long way to go. We always realize that because this is like a continuous nectar which flows, and it's like how much can we grab it? And the nectar is flowing, but you should be, you should have your vessel enough to hold it. So how capable you are, how much effort you are making to make yourself capable for that.
Yes, 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 yes. So thank you for that. So yeah, there's many things that I wrote down quite a few things I could improve on, definitely. And they're exciting because it means that, like you said, there's more nectar that we can receive, you know? The last thing I'm going to ask you to do, and you can do this in your own time, is I want you to think, what's my next step? Because there's many things that can improve. Don't try to do all of them at once. You may want to just choose one or two that you think, you know what, I'll start here. You know, Krishna consciousness, it improves in small steps, usually, you know? So in your own time, I would like you to choose from your list or complete the list, and you can just choose one or two things that you think, this is something I can start now. Something small, and then then a bit later on, you may want to add one other thing. Again, small, easy to manage, not overwhelming, easy, something small, easy to manage, and then you build up on that slowly. And before you know it, you'll be experiencing much more Krishna's mercy. Yeah? Okay, thank you. Are there any other last questions or comments before we end?
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Yes.
How can we develop? I think I feel like two struggles. First is like utilizing time efficiently. I feel that's like very important to progress in spiritual life too. And next is like developing a strong discrimination, like things to do and things not to do. So how can we develop those? Like, have any suggestions or like?
Yes. So we'll start with the second one, which is discrimination. It's good to, if you can, spend time with someone who's got strong discrimination. See what they say yes to, what they say no to. And speak to devotees who you feel have strong discrimination and ask them, how do you discriminate? That's one thing. Second, for discrimination is just by studying the books of Prabhupada, hearing about his life, you'll develop discrimination. Yeah, because Prabhupada had perfect discrimination. So the more we hear about Prabhupada and what he did and what he said and his choices, we'll have strong discrimination. That's another thing. And then, in terms of time management, I mean, I don't know if you have this book. There's a book called Leadership for an Age of Higher Consciousness, Part 1 by Bhakti Tirtha Swami. There's a whole chapter in that book about time management. And actually, I'll just share this with you because I was just thinking about this. I was looking at this morning. So I have this app, and this app is called, let me go to the cover, back, close. Okay. I'm going to try and I want to show you this particular app. It's on my phone.
Okay.
And I don't even think I paid for it. I think it's for free. Let's go to dictionary. I'm trying to get to the front page of this app, so I want to show you how the app actually looks. So contents. Okay, bookmarks, go back, notes. Okay, so I'm going to close that and I'm going to open it again. Just going all the way to the top. So there's an app called the Bhaktivedanta Database. And actually, they have all the Bhakti Maharaj's books on that database. So I think you can get the app for free. I think it's free. I don't think you have to pay for it. Anyway, so you can even read the book in there, or you can buy the book on Amazon.
Prabhu, can you please repeat the title of the book again? Sure, it's okay.
Leadership for an Age of Higher Consciousness, Part 1 by Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
Okay.
So
Leadership, highest stage of consciousness. Okay.
for an Age of Higher Consciousness, Part 1 by Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
And you can buy that book, you know, and then there's a whole chapter on time management. But the basic point is, and don't worry if you can't do this, maybe you've got children and there's some, you know, limitations. Don't worry, if you have limitations, do the best you can. But if you can sleep early and rise early, that usually helps to set the day up in a positive way. Another thing that I do, which I saw from my guru do, is he had a schedule. So the day wasn't willy-nilly. It wasn't just anything spontaneously done. He had a schedule, so he knew he had time for different things that he was going to do in the day. And that usually helped, that one thing usually helps people be very productive because they know what they want to do. I also have, like in my room, I've got a list of different things that I want to get done generally. And then when I have the day, I create the schedule generally. I'll say between this time and this time, I'll do this. Between this time and this time, I'll do this. Between this time and this time, I'll do this. And the schedule is not rigid because if something comes up that's unexpected, I can just move things around. But it gives me some focus as to what I want to do with my time. And that way I'm able to move forward. So thank you for that. It's a good question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, because I find these two are like a big obstacles to me. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So,
Any
last minute questions for Prabhu? Any clarifications? Okay, Prabhu. I think I don't see any questions. Thank you again for your beautiful association. Thank you for the powerful class and so much it's learning today. Definitely we'll try to apply that and we'll look forward for your association in the future more and more. Yeah. Thank you, devotees. Thank you again for your beautiful association today. Vancha kalpa tarupesha kripa sindhu pyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. His Grace Bhutabhavana Prabhuji ki jai and Ananta Vaikoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all devotees. I'll end the call here. Hare Krishna.